So I was just about to post another series of Neuro Nugget videos, one on neuroplasticity and a deep dive into both pain and fatigue. But I thought I'd go off script here a little bit and focus on the big picture. So just as a reminder, these Neuro Nugget videos come from years of talking to and working with people and just noticing that sometimes one missing bit of information can totally transform their journey from stuckness to flourishing. Imagine thousands of years ago, you came across a person that really believed the world was flat. And you said to them, if you keep on going in a straight line and just keep on going, eventually you'll end up back here. Now, that won't make any sense to them. They will be frustrated, they will think you are crazy. But if you provide them a little bit of extra information and explain, well, the world is a globe, then they might challenge the information, but if that sinks in, if that knowledge really sinks in, your previous statement about going in the same direction and coming back to where you started, it will make sense. But they'll start to see their past differently as well. And with that information about the world being round, that will open up options in their future as well. So the Neuro Nugget itself isn't the work, but it allows the work to work. So I hope these videos are useful. I hope they provide some insight on your journey from stuckness to flourishing. And if anyone would like to work with me, then just make contact. But be prepared to be challenged. So I decided to go off script and focus on this Neuro Nugget because this Neuro Nugget is about relationships. And I do hope that it has some broader implications than just health. So I call this Neuro Nugget, Stop Picking Sides. We are all on the same team here. So the most important job that our brain has when we're moving through the world is deciding what is safe and what is not. And that's a pretty big ask for an organ that's stuck inside a dark cavity of our skull and it has no direct access to the outside world except to the incoming information through our senses. So it pays close attention to the incoming information and it also cross-references that with all our past experiences. And it's trying to determine what's safe and what's not. So as we move through the world, our brain is constantly categorizing things as safe or not, friend or foe, good or bad, me or not me. And when the brain does detect a possible threat, member of another tribe, them, the others, the brain does what the brain's meant to do. It cranks up its protection mechanisms, ready to defend and protect. And with that comes stress hormones. And stress hormones do what stress hormones do. So it turns off our digestive tract, it alters immune function, it changes the way we think, it changes the function and the sensitivity of our nerves. Our eyes, for example, the pupils dilate and we get really good at focusing on threat, which means we lose peripheral vision, we lose perspective, we get stress-induced tunnel vision, so we focus on that threat. Our hearing operates differently under stress hormones. We get stress-induced tunnel hearing. We get very good at listening out for potential threats. So our whole body operates differently with the presence of stress hormones. If we're stressed in a conversation, for example, with another person, we're not able to hear everything that they're saying because our ears are locking on to that one thing that they said that's a potential threat. So we hear what we fear and we look for what we fear when we have stress hormones moving through our system. So we're not able to have a proper discussion and a dialogue that's fruitful and being able to look for options and moving forward. So when it comes to relationships, if there is someone that we hate or fear or mistrust, then the brain will do what the brain does, and any interactions with those people will be influenced by stress hormones, and stress hormones do what stress hormones do. We lay down the battlefields and all our interactions will be biased through the lens of us versus them. So the brain categorizes these things automatically, and we might just find ourselves on a particular team, but we can reassess that. We don't even have to be on a team. So by stepping back from that us versus them or picking a team, it means there's no longer a battlefield here that requires stress hormones. and that will directly influence our interactions. So there are many sides you could find yourself on: meat eater or vegan, pro-vax or anti-vax, blue versus red, white versus black, team Protestant or team Catholic, team religious versus team atheist, male versus female. And in the world that I work in, it's often team it's physical or team it's psychological. It doesn't really matter. The point is, once those categories are defined, it influences all interactions between others. So by stepping out of that way of categorizing us versus them, we can remove the stress hormones from conversations. We can actually connect with them, connect with their ideas, listen to them without defending our own position. And by being able to have those fruitful conversations, we can then hopefully move forward out of stuckness and into flourishing. So take from that what you will in this world of perceived teams. So stop picking sides. We are all on the same team. Now, wonderful stuff. Put that on a bumper sticker, make a Facebook meme, send it off, it'll get your likes. But a little bit woo-woo for the work that I do, pain, fatigue, the brain. I mean, what has relationships got to do with my world? Well, I think it's highly relevant, and here's why. The people that I see that move from stuck to flourishing tend to be the ones that are willing to reassess relationships. It might be historic relationships. They're able to look back and see those doctors that they used to curse for taking 5 years to get a diagnosis, to reassess that and realize that they were people doing their best that just really weren't trained in these sorts of conditions. Or it might be reassessing a relationship with parents and being able to look back and go, well, they were struggling people that had no idea how to parent well. And that shift in focus is huge. It's shifting onto team human, that everyone is just trying to do their best and stuffing up, and it's not their fault and it's not your fault. That's team human. And with that shift in mindset, there is a reduction of stress hormones. For others that flourish, the changes in relationships that they're making are in current relationships, and the changes there really facilitate flourishing. So we know that those relationship shifts are massive. They are biologically influential, and they set up the path to flourishing. So that's huge, but that's not even the neuro nugget that I wanted to talk about today. So maybe today is a double neuro nugget day. So the neuro nugget again was stop picking teams. Everyone's on the same side here. So the neuro nugget that I really wanted to focus on today is about relationships, but it's a relationship that's much closer to home. What is your relationship with your symptoms? What is your relationship with your body? What's your relationship with your pain or your fatigue or your thoughts or your behaviors? Have you picked a side? Have you laid down the battlefield? Is it you versus your bloody pain? Is it you versus your crushing fatigue? Is it you versus your racing mind? Is it you versus your crushing stress? You versus your addictive behaviors? Is it you versus them? Because I don't believe it's you versus them. So everyone is on the same side. So the symptoms of a cold aren't from the virus. That's your immune system's attempt to protect you from the virus. That inflammatory response, that runny nose, that's our team's attempt to protect you. A fever, that's not from the virus, that's the brain's attempt to increase your temperature to cook that sucker. When we have a swollen ankle, that is like an inbuilt plaster cast to protect you from movement. And when we break a leg and we feel that pain, that's not being done to you, that's for you to protect you from further harm. And when the brain detects a virus, for example, that crushing fatigue you feel, the virus didn't steal your energy. That's your brain's attempt to slow you down, to put you in bed, to allow your immune system, the other bit of your team, to attack that virus. Everyone here is on the same team working together. And we also know that a virus can come and we rise to the challenge and the virus can disappear, and our team keeps on trying to protect us unnecessarily. So we're left with post-viral fatigue. We know that an injury can come and we protect through pain, but the injury can heal and we're still left trying to protect through pain. Or we might have a massive horror in our past and we're left with post-traumatic stress disorder. Our team is still trying to protect us. It's now misguided, it's now unnecessary, but it's not being done to you, it's being done for you. And yes, it sucks. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's exhausting, it's horrific, and it feels like you can't cope. But something shifts when people realize that this is being generated from within, from a kind, loving, protective brain that thinks that this is best for you. Much like an overprotective parent, the intention is good, the results suck. So yes, now it is misguided, now it is no longer appropriate, but understanding the intent can create a shift in understanding. It's not me versus my symptoms. We're all on the same team here. It's not being done to me, it's being done for me. And that defines my work from a brain-based perspective to health. Everyone's on the same team here, so how can we work with the pieces, the body, the brain, to all pull together to achieve flourishing? So I don't think the journey to flourishing is one of managing symptoms or pushing through or battling symptoms or drugging symptoms. I believe the path to flourishing is understanding symptoms. Knowledge drives recovery. So by making that shift in understanding that you are all on the same team, you get to be on the same team as an incredibly protective brain that's also incredibly flexible and changeable as well. And that's fantastic news. There's still work ahead, but you get to work as a team rather than battling a foe. And all too often, self-help is really just another form of self-hate. And I don't believe that is the journey to flourishing. So that's it for me. Go and give your brain a big hug. Go and give your body a big hug and yourself a big hug. So I'm out. I hope that Neuro Nugget was useful. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you soon.